What did you think I'd done initially, be honest? Do you think I told Lav that she could only come on stream if she gave me nudes?
Do you... Okay. We don't even need to have disagreement. I just, we can reminisce a bit. Do you kind of miss the relationship you had with Mr. Girl, like 6-7 months ago when he was coming on stream and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think they're super good content. I mean, you saw it last night. Lav is super good content too, right?
I was watching a clip of all of us talking about Down syndrome, and it was pretty good.
Yeah,
it was pretty good.
They're funny people.
It is good content.
Yeah, I was kind of talking on stream about that there's like, I need to find a way to manage conflict better, because I think conflict is like, it's where I thrive, and it's where the content on my stream is the best. But I have to, but the problem is it's inherently volatile, right? The source of the entertainment is also the source of like its own undoing, because nobody wants to be in these like highly volatile environments for long periods of time. It just drives people insane. Yeah,
definitely.
But I don't know how to manage that well, yeah. Because people get mad and then they peace out, so. Or do it is an unusual dynamic. Oh, you know what you should do? The next investigation you should do that'd be kind of funny?
What's that?
Did you see the Madame Genevieve stuff?
Yes.
So apparently, Max leaked to Lav that something that Madame Genevieve had revealed to him, right? Do you know what makes that really interesting, though?
What's that?
Didn't Max tell everybody that he was giving interviews with that he'd give them $5,000 if anything got leaked?
Oh yeah, that's true, isn't it?
Yeah. I wonder if he paid her.
I mean, I guess if he wanted to, he could maybe make the argument that I didn't leak it myself.
Well, no, he clearly leaked it. Right? If fucking Lav Loon knows.
If you're telling Lav, you might as well just, go and tell everyone on your stream.
Exactly. Yeah, true.
She's probably going to leak it, right? Yeah, I mean, that's obviously. I mean, I was thinking about this earlier, of like, whilst he doesn't have any stringent ethical standards to meet, it's a bit rich for him to be asking you to meet certain ethical standards that don't exist, whereas he isn't meeting like a journalistic standard. Off the record is off the record, right?
True. What's going on over there in Max camp,
I don't know, man. I mean, obviously, initially there was this kind of social pressure to get on board with this narrative about you, which obviously would have caused some friction between us, right? Like, I don't come on your stream all the time, but there was this pressure to jump on board with some of these crazy allegations that were being made without evidence, and now I kind of look back and I'm like, well, a lot of this is kind of frittered away to nothing. Like, there's nothing really there. There's no meat on the bone, it seems.
Think so? What did you think I'd done initially, be honest? Do you think I told Lav that she could only come on stream if she gave me nudes?
No, I think that, like, if you were someone's boss, the kind of behavior you'd engaged in, I think you could characterize as sexual misconduct.
Absolutely true. I agree.
But the problem is, you're not anyone's boss, right?
Yeah, or like the sole entry point, or like in a position to like promote people or anything like that, yeah.
But then the question, so this is actually a piece of, this is less agreeing with Max, but just an interesting thought, right? Of like, well, you are kind of, sorry, go on.
No, go ahead.
You are the, I'm not trying to suck you, okay? You are the trailblazer of streaming, right? And a lot of these dynamics that exist, you were at the kind of center of because you started all of this, right?
Yeah.
So like, what do you think of the argument is like, well, it's like this because you are the one that set it up this way and you benefit from it?
Yeah, so this is one of probably the things that's the most upsetting that Max kind of like spun out into this whole like NPD spiral of destruction, is there actually is a really interesting conversation to be had from like the sexual dynamics between streamers, small streamers and large streamers. But the problem is that I don't know if Max is intelligent for the conversation. I know Lab's not intelligent enough for the conversation. But because of that, now it basically got turned into like, is Destiny raping people, right? But there are so many more other interesting ways that Max could have gone about like his little investigation that I think would have like yielded really interesting results in terms of like sex and streamers and all of that. You know what I mean?
I do, yeah, I do know what you mean.
Imagine, for instance, here's something, right? Imagine this.
Okay.
Imagine Max gets a list of every woman that's ever been on my stream, okay? And imagine he tracks how long, how much airtime they got, and maybe even viewership metrics, right? And then imagine after that, imagine he figures out when I was sexually active or if I was sexually active with any of those people on my stream. And then imagine it goes to like Ayla and he gets this like really nice graph showing that like, if you're sexually active with me, like you've got a 92% chance higher threshold of breaking 3-figure viewers. You've got like a 54% like higher stream time with Destiny, et cetera, et cetera. Like imagine if he could draw figures out. That theoretically could be like a really interesting way to go about that. And then you could show like, oh, well, look, like even if Destiny's not being malicious, he's like more favorable to women than he's sexually, et cetera. Like you could, they're theoretically, I don't even know if those numbers would be true, of course. I'm just throwing it out there. I don't think they would be. But like that would be a really interesting way to go about it. But instead he turned it into like a thing, you know? And it's just like, oh, well, that's stupid. It's stupid and it's boring. It's stupid because it's missing like the point of like what's actually happening, like the nuance of these relationships. And it's boring because it's not true. And now they're just like in some weird death spiral of trying to figure out what the is happening, you know?
Well, I guess that's an interesting point. Like, if you saw information that you sexually interacting with someone had some sort of influence on someone's stream, would that change your mind about having those sexual interactions?
Yeah, if I felt like I couldn't handle them or if I felt like it was like getting f***y or weird, absolutely, 100%. But like, it's something that I keep in mind a lot because for two reasons. One is because my streaming shit is important to me. And two is because my sexual encounters are important to me. Like I like both and I want to preserve both as much as I can. But again, like, and for the few women that have gone public with what Max has said, like I am painstakingly, like cringe-worthily, explicitly clear about my boundaries for like sexual interactions and everything. I think Madame Genevieve said as much publicly. There was a random girl that I sexted that I was able to reconnect with because Max brought everything up, which was funny, who said as much. With Lab, I did the same thing. Like I'm pretty explicitly clear on all of these things. And I feel like my model, maybe I fucked too much, I guess, but like in terms of like how I approach those like relationships, I think my model is like pretty good. Like I'm pretty straightforward about everything. I'm pretty blunt about everything. I try to make sure everybody's like comfortable and blah, blah, blah. But yeah. But I mean, like, if there's any criticism to be levied there, right, Max has like basically eliminated his ability to levy it, so.
I guess, I mean, because you were talking about if someone's sexual with you and their, you know, percentage viewers increase and stuff like that, would that, like if having sex with someone was the golden touch or something, would that impact it? Or is it just based on the sexual dynamics?
Well, so the thing is that like, I mean, I try to do this consciously. I guess it's possible, and this is why it would be interesting for Max to do like a real investigation, but it's possible that subconsciously maybe I treat people unfairly based on our sexual history, but I don't think I do. Like, there have been people that I've hooked up with that I've led on stream. There have been people that I've hooked up with that I don't think work on stream. There have been people that I used to hook up with that I don't hook up with anymore that have been on stream or off stream. Like, I don't know if there's like as much a pattern. I've never thought of like, oh, like this person, like we used to hook up and now they won't anymore and I'm never gonna have them on stream again. F that person. Like I've never done anything like that before, but yeah. But again, like there might be, like if I'm being completely honest, there might be like a hidden pattern that I'm not aware of where I'm like being biased in a way that I can't perceive that. But that would have to be like teased out like through like very careful like investigation and very careful like data crunching and everything. It's not gonna come out in terms of like Max's f***ing investigation of sexual coercion.
The biggest issue I have with all of this is
go for it.
A lot of these fucking people. It's like if you don't want to engage in this space and you don't want to get involved in the toxicity, don't and do your own thing. It's going to be slower going and it's going to be harder to build an audience. But it's a risk-reward situation. And it's almost like people like Lav, they want to come on stream and get the benefits of that, but have none of the negatives.
Careful though, yeah, but like just to be clear, the benefits aren't like, or the benefits aren't like you come on stream and the negative is like you have to hook up with me, right? Like to be clear, I've never ever made that type
Oh my God.
Yeah.
No, what? Wait,
What?
I'm not saying that at all. Why are you saying that?
Well, because you said you got to deal with the pros and the cons, so that sounded.
But I wasn't even talking about sex when I said that. Why would you say that?
Well, because that's the context of the conversation we're having.
Okay, no, mate, you're fucking... Okay, you've
What?
got
That's
fucking pussy. You have got pussy on the brain, okay? The point I was making, let me make it more clearly.
I'm sorry,
Forget
yeah, if you want to...
sex.
Sure, okay, if you want to go and talk about something not related to the conversation, okay, go for it, yeah. You're just saying
No,
in
it is
general...
this is related to the conversation, okay? You're just
Okay.
a fucking Kuma brain and you cannot stop thinking about mentally ill women, okay?
Okay, my bad. Sorry, go ahead.
Right. Okay. The point I'm making is when I say the negatives, I'm talking about...
Oh, you mean like STDs? I'm sorry, I'm just fucking with you. Go ahead. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm talking about the negative attention from your fucking community that people say they get, which they do sometimes get.
Yeah, that's another really interesting like thing to talk about. But again, Max kind of fucked his ability to have that conversation up. But yeah, I agree. That's a hard one too, and it's something I constantly try to manage.
Okay, listen. That's fair enough, and you're going to say the right thing or whatever, right? But can we get to the fucking brass tacks here, right?
Okay, yeah, brass tacks.
There's no fucking obligation to come on your stream. No one has to come on your stream. People do it because they think they can get a bit of clout out of it. They think they can get a bit of attention out of it. And they want to reap the reward of that where the fucking sun is shining. But then when things go bad, they fucking cry like a fucking hit dog. Oh my God, it's all gone terribly. And it's like, well, yeah, it's risk reward. You're taking a risk. Sometimes it's rewarding. Sometimes it's going to fuck you over.
Sure. I don't disagree.
I just want you to insult women a bit, to be honest.
Okay.
These demon-y thoughts, no. No, I don't know, man. I just find that there's a balance to be had here. And whilst I appreciate where you're coming from and you try and think about it all stuff like that, you know, I think people need to be a bit more realistic about it. You can have a streaming career without the clout boost that you get from engaging with bigger streamers, but it's going to be slower going. And that's why people do it.
Sure. Yeah, I don't disagree.
Like, if Flav hadn't come on your stream, she'd be like streaming to 30 viewers playing Overwatch.
Yeah, probably, yeah. I mean, she loved the attention, right? That's like undeniable. I don't think anybody's denying that, are they?
Yeah, sure. When it was positive.
Yeah, true. So then, are you entitled to somebody's audience when they have positive stuff for you, but they're not going to protect you from the negatives? Or like, what is the responsibility? That's kind of what the conversation's always been about, right? How much obligation does the streamer have to protect you from the downsides?
Yeah, and honestly, the more I think about it, the less responsibility I think the streamer has. And, you know, despite being somewhat of a leftoid, I think there's a bit of personal responsibility that comes into play. These Hollywood comparisons are bullshit. If you go to Hollywood as an actress, you have to interact with producers to be an actress in a movie. You can't not do that. But with streaming, you can. You can just do your own stream. You don't have to go and speak to anyone, ever. People do it on their own, right? They start from nothing, grow an audience. It's harder going, but it can be done.
Yeah, I agree, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why the Harvey Weinstein, or like his thing constantly where he's like, oh, well, you're our boss. And it's like, well, no, I'm not.
Yeah, sure. It's you know, there's this kind of.
I think one would say.
What?
Right? It's bullocks, right? Isn't that what you say? Bullocks.
Listen, if you want to get into accents, mate, don't make me crack out the racist ones.
That's a word. You guys say that, don't you? Bullocks.
No, it's bollocks.
Oh, bollocks.
Bollocks. It's bloody bollocks, mate.
Oh, okay. Jeez.
Okay.
I'm sorry. My bad.
No, it's fine. I'm very sensitive. Okay, listen. Whenever I'm playing video games, right, I play video games with an American friend. In American lobbies, every time I speak, accent gets mocked. Okay? It's really annoying. I'm very sensitive about it.
Okay. I'm sorry.
So please, I do not want to get abused by your audience with the you what mate spam.
Okay.
I'm just around. I don't give a shit, do I?
I don't know. Do you?
Wait, did you really think I was being serious?
No, I'm just fucking with you. I know you're not being serious.
Okay, Jesus, this is like meta. It's getting very meta now.
Yeah, you know, I miss Max so much. I need these meta conversations back in my life, you know?
Did you see his conversation with Brianna Wu?
No. Wait, how recent was that?
Fairly recently, a couple of weeks ago.
Oh. How did that go? Wait, did I watch that? I must have watched that.
I mean, probably. You watch every scrap of content you possibly can.
Yeah, so I can play video games.
Yep. I mean, that's, you know. It was one of those kind of meta conversations. It was meta on top of meta on top of meta.
Classic.
Conversation about the conversation. Yeah, classic Max. You know, to the point where Brianna Wu would bring it back to the topic of conversation in my perspective. And yeah, he would just pivot off to, well, I don't want to talk about that. You know, you're doing this and I'm doing this and this is, you know, and it was just classic Max.
Classic Max.
Okay.
I'm guessing it wasn't very fruitful.
Not particularly, no. Not really. Not really, no. It didn't really go anywhere. It just kind of circled for a bit. It was about consent. You know, the principle of enthusiastic consent, and
Oof, Max probably is not a big fan of that, huh?
Well, okay. Aside from the memes, I do think there are some problems. Listen, there's a lot of problems with consent, enthusiastic consent. Let's put it that way.
Oh, wow. Okay, go ahead.
I think that. Okay, I feel like I'm becoming the new Max all of a sudden. I've got some concerns. I'm not going to lie.
Okay.
It depends what. Okay, it depends what I mean by enthusiastic consent, right?
Okay.
What do you think it means?
What do I think enthusiastic consent means? It's making sure that you've got like a sexual partner that really wants to have sex, and it's not just like somebody that you've like barely gotten like to the point of like just saying yes. It's somebody who's like enthusiastically, like, not necessarily they're like celebrating like, oh my god, like I'm gonna have sex, but they're just like somebody who's like very clearly like, yeah, wants to have sex.
Okay. So, I mean, this will be easy for you to imagine because it happens all the time, according to you.
Oh, true.
But imagine there's a woman and you want to get her to fuck. What does that look like in practice?
What part of the process are we at here?
You're in the bedroom. Okay, you don't need to get into the juicy details, but just an overview. You're in the bedroom.
I mean, we're probably getting to some physically close, intimate setting, I would imagine.
Yep. Just stick to the words, okay? I don't need to. Just stick to the words.
I don't know. What were you asking me? Like, where does my hand go, or?
No, I'm not saying that. Okay. I guess right. Okay, I'm going to become the new Max. Okay.
Yeah, do it.
Yes, I'm a rapist. Yes, I'm a pedophile.
Based. Okay.
So, what I'm getting at here is what level. Like, what's the kind of blend of words and physicality that you'd be kind of looking at, right? But for example, right, you're not going to be like, you know, can I touch your pussy? And she's like, yeah, definitely go for it, right? And then it's like, can I do this? Can I do this? Can I do this? You know, it's like, there is a physical element alongside the verbal communication that goes with it, right?
Oof, that's actually. Wait, is there somebody knocking on my door? Hold on.
How's it going, chat? You good? Listen, I do not need Riz tips, okay? Because I'm not interested in women whatsoever. If I want to get my rocks off, I'll go on Grindr, I'll speak to a dude, and I'll say, do you want to suck my dick? And they'll probably say yes, and that'll be that.
So navigating, like, when is a person, we're basically asking, like, when is a person, like, when are we good to go? When do we have the green light, kind of?
Yeah, something like that.
I think there's like a really complicated interplay between like how well I know the person, how well the encounter is going, how much conversation we've had prior to, and how much conversation we've had prior to us actually like getting to where we're at. I think it would be a combination of those factors. Yeah, but I feel like I would have to like get into it if you want to.
No, we don't have to get into it in that level.
Well, I think that's the only way you can, right? Because to just say that, like, okay, oh, I verbal consent, like, it's kind of my problem with these types of conversations. Like, oh, what do you do? Oh, I get verbal consent. Well, what does that even look like? What does that mean, right? It sounds kind of gay, right? Like, can I touch your pussy, right?
I mean, oh, I'm terrified of women.
You're married. Do you even have to worry about this? Or are you not married? Actually, I don't know that. Sorry.
No, it's fine. I'm actually, listen, there's a lot of misconceptions about me, okay?
Okay.
I'm not married, okay?
Okay.
This is, I guess, you know, I'm not single, let's put it that way, okay? Without, you know.
What, are you like
Let's put it that way.
What,
Is that acceptable?
Sure, if you want it to be, that's fine.
Wait, why do you assume I'm gay?
I don't know, because you're like being cagey about it. You're like, I'm not single, but I'm not married. So you have a girlfriend.
Okay,
you're dating. Isn't that like,
right.
how many other options do we have here?
Right, you're literally fucking brain dead on this. I swear to God, right? Right, listen, I don't mind talking about it. I'm not saying I'm uncomfortable or anything, right? I'm talking to you.
Oh.
Your relationship circumstances are fucking insane and cause you constant, endless problems. I watched a stream where you were trying to figure out if you were being catfished or not by someone. What the fuck was that?
Awesome. It was good content, wasn't it? It was really entertaining. You got to be honest, it was, right?
Yeah, I'm sure a video of someone shitting on the floor of a restaurant would be good content, but you know, it's still not good for the person doing it, right?
Okay, listen, that's fine. Okay, so you got your thing. Okay. Gay father, adopted kids, whatever's going on. That's your life. That's okay. Listen, whatever you got going on is fine, okay?
I'm
That's
not
fine.
gay.
That's
Listen,
okay. I don't care. You mentioned
I'm
Grindr
not
earlier.
homosexual.
That's cool. I don't care. Here's how, this is like in general, this is my approach, okay? So I usually err on the side of caution on everything. So I'm generally letting the girl lead if it's like a first or second time, right? So I'm usually in a position to where we can go further, but she's gonna have to take the next step. So for instance, if we're laying in bed together, I might be like moving my finger around like the hem of her pants or like the collarbone of her thing or like kissing her neck or ear, but I'm not gonna be the one to like take her shirt off or like put her hand on me, right? Like I'll be in that spot and then I'll see if she goes further. If she doesn't go further, but I feel like she wants to because her body's moving in a certain way, because she's making certain noises, because we talked about it beforehand, I might actually ask where it's like, can I take this off? Or do you want to take this off? Or something like that. And then we would like progress to the next step. If she ever hesitates or doesn't answer clearly or kind of moves around or is like a little cagey, then we just don't. Then we just keep kissing or we do whatever, or we just take a break and then we, you know, reconvene later. In my mind, if the person wants to fuck, they know I want to. So it's going to happen if I want to and if they want to. The only possible thing that I gain by pushing is potentially pushing somebody that isn't ready or doesn't want to into a sexual encounter that they weren't ready for. So that's like in as few details as possible, because I know how uncomfortable it makes you. That's kind of my approach to those types of hookups.
Okay. Listen, it's not like an uncomfort thing, okay? I could happily talk about sex, but I've got a public image to consider of hating women.
Okay.
So, okay, that's fair enough. I guess a question I would ask off the back of that is, you know, if, say, you were going to take off someone's shirt, would you ever take visual body language as a clue, or would you always want to have a verbal confirmation?
Depends on how visual the body language is. Sometimes visual is all you need.
Hey, Destiny,
if a girl is like grinding her hips on me or something, and she's like, you know, like lifting her shirt off, or she like is putting my hands on her breast or whatever, I'm not gonna ask a question. I know what's going on. I don't need a verbal cue at that point.
Okay.
But generally it's around people with a little bit less experience, because everybody in the fucking world apparently that I hook up is like 22, because there are no 30-year-old women in this fucking world. And when I say this world, I mean like the streamer YouTube world. So for like newer people or people that are younger that don't have as much experience, sometimes I'm gonna want a verbal cue because their physical is like a little bit mixed, or because I'm just not sure if they're like ready or whatever. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with verbal as long as you're not like weird about it. Like I've never in my entire life had like a person like reject me because I asked for like a verbal cue. That's never happened. That's like a weird fantasy that some guys push online, that like if you ask a girl a question, they're gonna get turned off or whatever. That's never been the case.
Okay, I'm taking notes. Good, just looking to get the kind of beginner 101 situation.
Yeah.
What if they're into rape play?
That's a conversation we're gonna probably explicitly have in advance. Right? Did I answer that incorrectly?
Well,
What?
I guess the challenge would be, you know, because, okay, let me tell you a story, okay? This has nothing to do with me, to be clear. Nothing to do with it. I read it in a magazine once or something, right?
Okay, right.
But there was like a story about this woman that wanted to engage in rape play, but wanted it to feel real. So she paid a guy to like wear a balaclava, drive up in a white van, grab her off the street, take her, and rape her.
Okay.
And this is like in contravention of some of these key principles that you're talking about. So
Well, no, if
could
you
you be the man in the
negotiate it all in
van?
advance.
Could you be the man in the van?
If I felt like I knew the person well enough and we had this conversation in advance, then I guess sure. But I mean, like, that's gonna require like a lot of verbal, like, explicitly negotiated shit beforehand, right?
Sure. So you've got to set clear boundaries ahead of time.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like talking about as much stuff as possible ahead of time is like the best. That's why it's fun to like sexting or trading nudes or all of that shit. Like it's fun in and of itself to do it, but it's also a really good way to figure out like where a person's like natural boundaries are, you know? And then you have like a discussion through like, well, what do you like? What are you into? Et cetera, and then you figure all that out.
Okay, well, anyway, I just want to move slightly off this because I feel like I'm getting an impression as like a gay rapist. The worst kind of rapist.
I wasn't thinking anything to do with that, but interesting your mind went there. Go ahead.
Anyway, to go back to what we were talking about, obviously, you know, the Brianna Wu and Max conversation didn't really get into the meat and potatoes. It just was very meta.
Crazy. Never would have saw that coming.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Listen, mate, you've been doing this longer than you've been doing this longer than I have. Okay.
Yeah.
You're supposed to fucking do something. Let's
we just had a conversation. It was interesting, I thought. But then you got scared of it.
Wait, no, I'm not scared of it. It was an interesting conversation for you. The outcome for me is I'm now getting called a rapist, a gay rapist.
How?
Hey, what? Your chat is put. No, listen. I don't. Okay, that's fine. I accept it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't think you're a rapist, Chad.
Good. And the subterfuge is complete. Can you just disavow rape for me, please?
I won't. There might be times where it's justified.
When?
I don't know. Could we imagine together?
Okay, we're gonna have to do the if you could rape one 10-year-old and it would save 1 billion lives.
Yeah? Would it be worth it? What do you think? Could you be the one to do it?
I mean, it depends on your moral framework, doesn't it, at the end of the day?
I don't know, Vosh, you tell me.
Okay, well maybe you can help me with this actually. In fact, this is an interesting conversation, okay? Yeah. I don't get into this philosophication shit. It's all a load of nerd shit to me, right?
It is true.
Now, people talk about utilitarianism.
Yeah, cringe, but go on.
And they talk about what seems to be a very crude calculation of does the good outweigh the bad. I don't think that is always the right way to look at it because there are probably some things we should, outlaw to stop that. Mm-hmm. To stop the temptation to engage in like a morally egregious act.
Sure.
That could have a greater outcome. Like what is that called?
Bro, this shield battery shit is actually the fucking lamest shit ever. Can you repeat what you just said? I was just getting my mind blown by how fucking retarded this race is to play. Could you repeat the thing you just said?
Yeah, sure, no problem.
Yeah.
Okay, so very simple, right? If you could rape someone and it would save 5 lives from a utilitarian perspective, okay, that might be considered like a reasonable exchange.
Yeah.
But we probably don't want to set up situations where people are getting raped in that circumstance.
To save each other, right? Yeah, true.
So what is that called?
Well, so it's kind of like...
Is that raw utilitarianism?
Yeah, we'd say yeah to that one.
Okay. So what's the difference between that and deontology?
Well, that's a good question, because they all kind of blend together a little bit, you know?
Okay.
Oh, he's got the shield battery again. So nothing happens. Oh. Hold on, I'm so sorry. He can't just keep doing it, right?
It's fine, mate. Don't worry about it. Just
yeah,
play
I know.
A little game.
It is real utilitarianism, though. You were right on that, so congratulations.
Well, it's not about congratulations. I genuinely have just picked this up for osmosis, and I'm just like, is that what it is? I don't even know.
There's a whole branch of shit called normative ethics. It's for fucking losers, okay? The only people in the world that are bigger losers are people that do meta ethics, okay? So the weird thing about normative ethics, in my opinion, and I'm uneducated, so there's gonna be 15 fucking even bigger losers that are gonna make subreddit posts saying that I'm wrong on this, even though I'm probably basically right, is that like, the problem with like deontology is, deontology says that like, listen, we should try to be really good people all the time and follow these fucking lame-ass fucking rules that Kant wrote in German a long time ago. And the thing is it's it's actually so fucking stupid.
What is stupid? The game. Wait, hello?
It's just this I just need to wrap my head around like how fucking autistic this fucking shield battery shit is. It's so stupid. Problem is that like there are weird things that happen in deontology where it's like, hey, like you know how you said we're not supposed to lie ever, right? And we're like, yeah, because that'd be a bad thing to do. It's like, okay, well, what if there's like a Nazi knocking on your door and there's a poor Jewish dude hiding in the basement? Like, do you think that
I'd give him up immediately?
Yeah, okay, good for you. Well, a deontology, like, well, it feels really bad there. It feels really bad to tell the truth there. So like something's happening there. So some people, some losers online, the vegan people especially, have attached to this thing called threshold deontology, where they say, okay, well, we should be deontological, but there's a certain threshold where once we hit it, we should probably switch to like utilitarianism or some consequentialist framework. So they're kind of evaluating on outcomes, but not all the time, which means in my opinion they always are, but whatever. And then on the consequentialist side, you know, you're kind of like, oh, well, if you could save one person, or if you could save two people by killing one person, shouldn't you always do that? And it's like, yeah, that'd probably be good to do consequentially. But then the question is like, okay, well, let's say anytime somebody walks into a hospital, should that person be killed for their organs to save 5 people? And it's like, okay, well, that society would be pretty shitty. So it's like, okay, well, let's not do that then. Let's have like a rule utilitarianism. It's like, okay, well, when we're making rules that we're universalizing through all of society, a universal rule sounds a little bit like a categorical imperative, which is kind of deontological, so it's kind of lame anyway. So at the end of the day, fuck all of it. Does that make sense at all? Like all the normative frameworks, it feels to me like when you start to stress test them, they kind of blend into each other at the edges. Like, would there really be some deontological imperative that like isn't consequentially good for society? Is that possible? Can we fathom any of that? And for consequentialism, like if everybody acted in a deontological way, doesn't that kind of maximize our good consequences for society in general? Seems like it, maybe. I don't know. That's where I'm at. So there's a third category of normative ethics that's the most cucked loser category, where you don't have any good rules, and it's called virtue ethics. And all you say is like, oh, let's all be good people, because you're like too retarded to actually like say anything of value. And I think that's where I'm at right now, a virtue ethicist. So just like find some virtues that you think are good, and then try to like live by that shit.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it's kind of nerd shit, isn't it?
It really is. Doesn't feel good to talk about it, does it?
No. Why don't we talk about gender? Because I think I'm becoming a transphobe.
Me too.
Maybe you can help me.
Well, welcome
really?
to the camp.
Okay.
Hold on. There's a good camp. It's called transmedicalism, okay? It's based. We can fight hard for trans issues here, and then you can still make fun of all the cringy, non-binary white people online that feel like they don't have anything that they can complain about, so they assume some trans identity in order to have something to complain about. Transmedicalism. That's the winning position, okay?
Are you actually like a transmedicalist now then? Literally.
Yeah, so my personal opinion is that in order to be considered trans, I think you have to have some form of gender dysphoria. If you don't, then you're LARPing. Some people would consider that transmedicalist, so if that's the case, then I am a proud transmedicalist.
That's actually wild. I had a similar thing on my stream earlier, before even knowing that about you. Basically, okay, long story short, right? Long story fucking short.
Okay.
I feel like I've been misled by progressives on this issue over the past couple of years.
Okay.
Don't know if you feel the same.
No, not misled, but they got way too extreme with it. The thing that I was arguing against a long time ago that I think is still stupid, that was part of the road that progressives went down, was something called self-ID. That should have never, ever been accepted by anybody ever. It's a ridiculously, absurdly stupid position, and the only people backing it up are either fake trans people or psyoped trans people that are just here to make all the real ones look bad. But yeah, self-ID was the biggest mistake ever. It was so stupid.
Did you hear about the rapist in Scotland? The Scottish rapist?
No, but I'm sure there are a lot of them up there. It's a pretty cool place, right? I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Okay. This is actually quite interesting, right? So there's this person who identifies as a trans woman called Bryla something. I can't remember their name. They've also got like a dude's name as well that people call them because there's a contention. Anyway, point is, they get prosecuted for rape as a man.
Okay.
As soon as they're prosecuted, they come out as a trans woman.
Based.
Now, there becomes a discourse because Scotland has just passed this legislation, which is gender ID, which makes it like easier to go through the administrative process. Loaderbox knows all about it because he's a fucking nerd on this shit. Anyway, the point is there's then this contention because it's like you've got this new self-ID thing, but then you've got someone who is a man transitioned to be a trans woman after being prosecuted. Which prison do they go in? Like, which prison do you think they should go in?
I think if you want to be in a trans prison, you've got to show like a history of like trans stuff. That's not some shit that you get to fucking check a box and opt into on fucking day one.
So that was the nature of the conversation. It was like, should they go in a female prison? Should they go in a male prison? And obviously the issue is, if you put them, and they've now in a male prison, ended up in a male prison, but then that really fundamentally obviously disputes the self-ID concept, right? Because, well, how can you do that? Because they say they're a woman, you believe in self-ID, you should believe they're a woman. So they should go in the women's prison. So that's like an issue of like where progressives have pushed this self-ID thing to some level.
Yeah, I mean, it's super simple. Like, self-ID is just a hilariously fucking stupid concept, and no real trans person, like, real trans people should be appalled by the concept of self-ID. Because what self-ID philosophically asserts is that being trans is not real. It just matters what you call yourself, which I don't believe that to be the case. I think trans people are real, and I think that being trans is a real thing. But self-ID asserts that there is no underlying fact of the matter about whether or not you're trans. What comes down to are your verbal utterances, which is absurd.
Okay. Yeah, I think I've come to that conclusion recently too. The other thing I'm becoming transphobic on is the topic of trans kids.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can help you with that one. I think trans kids are totally fine. No problem whatsoever. We just need to have like a good process by which we do therapy and everything. The relentless affirmation shit, that ain't it. That can't be the answer. It sounds like really, maybe this actually does sound super transphobic to some people, but like, I would be super uncomfortable with my kid exploring like any of these trans things if I knew the ideology of like the professor or the researcher or the therapist or whatever, depending on where they were at, right? Like if I walked in and my kid was like talking to a therapist and they had like neo pronouns like written on the board, like I would pull my kid from, I'd probably pull my kid from that class.
Okay. Did you see the recent controversy about this BMJ article that came out? I don't know if you're familiar with that.
No, what happened?
The British Medical Journal released an investigative report which talked about trans kids, about the Tavistock Clinic, where they had essentially what we're talking about, this kind of affirmation at the forefront of it. It was about affirmation first, like a heavy emphasis on going onto puberty blockers, which they then found like led a higher proclivity to them transitioning after. These sorts of things basically. So they basically like realized, okay, this isn't really going how we want it to, and they've pulled back on it. The Tavistock Clinic's closed. The UK government is doing a big bit of research into trans kids.
Yeah.
And for me, the big piece I took away from it is we've constantly spoken about how puberty blockers are just the correct thing for trans kids to have. But there's kind of research showing, from what I've seen, I can send you the article if you're interested, but it basically talks about how, this transition or die narrative isn't necessarily correct. Like the idea that if you don't provide puberty blockers, a trans kid will kill themselves isn't necessarily backed up by good data.
Yeah.
And therefore talking therapy could be more beneficial and give a more accurate read on whether they're going to transition or not.
Yeah, but you can't do that, right? Because talk therapy assumes that you aren't trans just because you say you are, right? So it fucks all the self-ID fucking nerds.
Yeah, but I'm assuming, like you say, you would agree with like talking
that
therapy
of course.
In the first instance.
Yeah. We have to accept, just as a fuck me. I love you, buddy. Can I talk to you later? I'm getting a call by that Aiden dude. I think I have to ditch you, or my job's
no worries. Okay, catch you there. Bye bye.
Yeah, be careful. I love you, babe.
Love you too. Bye.
Wow.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going, buddy?
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing great. Just hanging out.
Nice to meet you. My name is Aiden. What's your real name? I don't really like to call people by their gamer tags.